Welcome back to our podcast where we are helping you get better at business by diving into our book, Comfort Zone Correction, Unfiltered True Stories in Successful Selling. In today's episode, we are going to talk about why having a nickname is so important in business. It makes you so memorable and really helps people remember you and your face and your brand and just everything about you. It will also make those around you feel like friends and not just clients. So make sure you listen in to hear how Kaushal and Mr. Brown got their nicknames.
I love this chapter, Why Mr. Brown, because I remember this. I was very young with Mr. Brown's company. And maybe it was my second year. I was in this whole creative phase where I used to make paintings and I used to take photography lessons at Fashion Institute in FIT. I would just experiment. And that was a time when Mr. Brown and I took a trip together as well. So I took my camera along with me, got some great captures. I remember that they allowed me to put a painting in the conference room, which I made at home. And it was so nice that they allowed me to do that. But I remember this chapter very vividly because Mr. Brown always would wear this UPS hat and tell his customers, what can this Brown do for you? What can this Brown do for you? So it was like a lot of people only know him, because we're a B2B company. We're like a B2C company.
Right.
In the B2C company, you need models and sexy looking people because you're targeting the end customer. In the B2B, everybody knows Mr. Brown. That's who they are talking to, on a day-to-day basis. And that's who they are seeing on the trade shows. So we just wanted to do a thing, and he allowed me to take a Renaissance photo of him with the Renaissance lighting.
Dude, how am I just now realizing that you were part of this creative process? I should have put the pieces together. I thought this was before Cal. I thought this was before you.
No, this is while I was there.
Are you serious? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I had not. How? I can't believe I'm just finding this out now.
I'll tell you more. I think it was probably 2006. And we were part of this organization called IJO, Independent Jewelers Organization. And that was an organization where Mr. Brown's company was going aggressive at it. And they strategically knew how to align themselves. They had the right product. They had the right financial backing. Everything was perfect. They were so integrated with his relationships with the customers. They were so integrated that they had these little intimate group sessions within the organization where 10 retailers or 20 retailers would get together and share the experiences. And Mr. Brown would probably pop up in most of those sessions. And everybody knew Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown had this fun way of doing things. He was a happy, positive, charming guy. And we were just trying to break in and just trying to do something different. So we had this opportunity to buy an ad on the IGO website that only IGO members can see, but it would be only on IGO's website. And I told Mr. Brown that we should take a picture of you in your UPS hat. We were not afraid to fail, basically. And he was a sport, and he trusted me with my photography skills. And in the conference room, we made the lighting in such a way by shutting down the blinds and just certain light falling on him from the right-hand side, where it would just show a glimpse of his face, but show the entire UPS hat. And people would know this is Mr. Brown. Because they still wanted to keep it brownish, So it was it was my thought, I guess,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a little bit crazy about that. But anyway, and then we wrote under the ad, what can this Brown do for you? And then we said in stock items or something like that. And then it was a popular ad. It was a beautiful ad. I think we got a few phone calls, right? Mr. Brown saying that they noticed the ad and that it was hilarious or something like that.
We not only got a few phone calls, people were laughing and seeking what this guy is doing on the website. And they created a little humor because people are not used to seeing me in the picture anywhere. I knew that I was not comfortable in the very first place to be in the ad as in the face. But then I'm glad I listened to you guys, and the rest is a history. We did tremendous business during that time, and every item that was listed on their website was a big hit. And people say, you know what are you trying to tell us here? It was like an attraction, and the people trusted our judgment. And we say, okay, you know what? If you cannot sell for whatever reason, we are willing to take this back without any problem. And guess what? We are very successful in creating lots of customers that way.
So you were basically like the new celebrity of the jewelry industry, huh?
You cannot say celebrity, but it was a calculated risk that we took it, and that risk was paid off.
There is one thing that this chapter says is that laugh, even if it is at your own expense.
Mm-hmm.
And on the same note of Mr. Brown calling himself, what can this Brown do for you, and running that campaign, he also gave me something kind of subconsciously. So my name is Kaushal, okay? Kaushal. Like, it's not easiest name to remember if you are selling in West America, okay? So when I was in Purdue University, my communications teacher would always break it down to Cow and Shal. And then it just so happened that Mr. Brown was like, hey, Cow is like not bad, and he's just calling me Cow. Now the most amazing thing is he sent me to the dairy capital of America, Wisconsin, where there is only cow, like milk and cheese.
Yeah, it's only dairy out there, yeah.
And there is spotted cow beer, okay, which is made by a brewery called New Glarus, Wisconsin. The brewing is in New Glarus, Wisconsin. So it just so happened that I just kind of went with it, and I truly find delicious. The spotted cow beer is delicious. And I would show up with 6 packs with some of my closest customers. And I would show up at 4 o'clock in the evening, and I would just lay out the line, and we would just have beer, and we would just do business like that.
Oh my gosh,
And
that's genius.
One time the customers brought us cheese heads at a trade show because Mr. Brown requested that he would like one. So it was
From the Packers?
crazy times. These were like crazy times when you're not afraid of having a little fun and being goofy and laughing at yourself. It's okay. You're just trying to have fun. And when you were able to take that leap, so now Cow stuck with me, but guess what? Cow has always become a factor where it's not the boring conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I can repeat that conversation every time I meet a new customer over and over and over and over again, and it would never get boring for any of the customers to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, I laugh at it, So when Wisconsin came into play, it was like perfectly, I guess, designed.
Let me send the cow to the Midwest.
Yes, exactly.
To milk some cash out.
There's a problem that we send my taking care of the cows.
If I recall, Cow, we also were going to a trade show in Madison, Wisconsin, right?
That's right. We used to do that. That's right.
So that cow and the cheese become very popular in the Madison, Wisconsin show. And as you said, that a couple of those customers were bringing those cheese heads and some beer, and it was a great experience. And it was a very hilarious way of breaking the ice with a lot of new customers who never did business with you.
Uh-huh.
The only thing we need is a little smile on their face. And the rest is just go after their smile and make sure you take advantage of their smile and just have them as the customers.
Oh, so you guys wore the cheese heads at the conference?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I thought you meant like as a souvenir.
No.
No, that was our flair at the conference.
I wore that ad right on my head because you can be recognized from at least a mile away in the conference.
So when you used to be at the conferences, Mr. Brown, before Kaushal was around, did you just stick out just because you were one of the only people that used to wear a baseball cap? Because I know when I went to the conference, maybe things are different now, but everybody was all suited up, trying to look as kind of rich as possible to show off their jewelry and everything. So did people just approach you just because you used to wear a baseball cap and say, what are you doing with the baseball cap, sir?
You need to be different, and you got to be a little creative and be different from the next door neighbor, because you can't be the same because everybody is wearing suit and tie. So you know what? how can you differentiate you from the neighbor and your competition? So you got to be creative, you got to be different. I think to me, the hat was the game changer. It was definitely a game changer for me.
Did you used to wear a different hat every time you would go to conferences, or was it tended to be the same one? Or
After I came in contact with a client from, I think, South Carolina, he gave me local baseball hat from, I think,
Gamecocks.
Gamecocks. And you know what? The Gamecocks hat was a game changer because that was red in color. And so, in other words, anybody is going to spot me. And even if they don't spot me, they said, what guys you're talking about? He said, you know what? That's the only guy in the entire conference room with a red hat. And just go and find this guy, and he's going to be there for you.
oh, that's a good one. It's like a big stop sign.
Yeah, definitely. And it definitely helped me tremendously with that red hat. Definitely.
And during this time of the ad, you were saying that it was also like a recession. So did you find when people called, they were just calling to pick on you, and then you were able to kind of make a sale out of it? I know you started getting a lot of inquiries.
Yes, because Cow was with me at that time, and I remember that moment they saw the ad in that particular the group, they will call us because they just wanted to talk to us. Hey, this is pretty hilarious, and we like it. Well, what is this? Not only me, my whole sales team. We're getting the phone calls, and they wanted to just speak to them, discuss with them, and as I told you, that we were giving the guarantee, going, you know what, this is the game changer. And, US was going through some financial crisis at that time, if I remember.
Uh-huh.
And it definitely helped us to close a lot of new customers, a lot of new sales. And Cow also was instrumental in bringing a lot of new customers to the table at that time.
I know we talk a lot of the different stories in the book. Is there any like humorous tales that kind of stick out to you that we haven't talked about in the book? Maybe it was a little too risque or something, or maybe it just kind of got lost in our piles of chapters as we made them.
Sometimes you really have to think, because there could always be an angle that would offend somebody. It could get tricky pretty easy, and you can cross the line. And especially like, in all these trade shows, there is always sometimes alcohol involved.
Yeah.
So maybe after one too many, a lot of people might get into that zone. So therefore, it'd be a good question. And I would definitely caution everybody, that I know going with the flow is one thing, but don't just flow away.
Right. And then especially when you start talking with people and you're trying to connect with them, and somebody has a different kind of sense of humor and things like that happen. Did you have any controversial kind of interactions, Mr. Brown?
I mean, now it is very much of an offense if you say, he's white or he's blue, he's black or he's yellow.
Right.
2007, 8, it was not so prominent.
Yeah, people used to just walk up to you and be like, hey, what's up, brown man? What's up, Mr. Brown?
Exactly. So at that time, it was not like an offense, but still I was kind of worried, man, how can you write what this Brown can do for you? And luckily it was in 2008, 9, and it was not in 2021. Thank God for it.
Right. Yeah, it was like a calculated risk of the times kind of thing.
Exactly, definitely. But luckily it worked out to be to our advantage, by writing that what this Brown can do for you. If you recall, before we even edited this book, every chapter had brown man. Do you remember? Everywhere it was brown man.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Luckily, Mr. Richard, who was genius enough to tell us, instead of brown man, why didn't you write Mr. Brown? And it's going to be perfectly fine. We changed everything to Mr. Brown, and we are very successful in doing whatever we listen to Mr. Richard, and really get for it. I'm happy for it.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Amy also, because she even pointed out when we were first putting the stories together, we unconsciously, when we put them together, they were all stories dealing with men. And we were like, oh my gosh, we didn't even realize that was happening, because we were just trying to capture all these moments that you could remember. So it was really great that we had good people in our lives who kind of put things in perspective for us when we were kind of caught up just putting out content kind of thing. She was like, does he know any other girl stories? Do you remember?
I think you didn't mention that earlier. as well while we were.
Yeah, this was back in like the early days. Yeah.
Yeah, and it allowed us to make certain changes in our book at that time as well. So those are some great observations. This kind of like meant to be.
And Kaushal, I have a question for you too, because I know that you had Cow as your nickname. Did that also transfer into you becoming the boss of your own company? Or did you kind of have to change your name a little bit to seem
Oh, not
more?
really. Like, I always kept my name Kaushal. And whenever I would have a chance to explain to somebody that they can call me Cow, I would definitely put that in there because it's something that you cannot tell over a business card. It is something that you have to have a conversation about. Becoming a boss of my own company, I think I was so inspired while I was growing up with my grandfather, my father, and the people that we were surrounded with because they were all like entrepreneurs. My grandfather's friends were also businessmen.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of people would come home. I just wanted to be a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I wasn't cut out for a job kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember very clearly that when I did an interview with Mr. Brown's organization, they asked me this cliche question, where do you see 5 years from now? I said, oh, I'm next to you running the show, you know. And he said, if that's not possible, then I hope I can do my own business because that's all I know what I need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And despite that, I got hired. And I appreciate my employer for hiring me at that time by giving me that chance. Because if you wouldn't have given me that chance, then I wouldn't have the opportunity to meet Mr. Brown. But it was always like that I wanted to do this. And I loved it because the timing of the things worked out in such a way that at that particular moment in time, everybody's vision, my employer's vision, Mr. Brown's vision, and my vision were aligned because we all wanted to do best by the customer. And we were able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, in around 2012, we started seeing changes because every company goes through its breaking points because they're going into the next growth phase where they're breaking out of their comfort zone and going into the next growth phase. And at that time, a lot of opportunities open up. And to me, it felt like the perfect opportunity to go and start my business. But one person, actually two people that I needed to make sure I have peace with was my employer and it was Mr. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And I did everything that I could from my heart, and I made sure that I communicated everything very specifically and clearly. And I did not know what I was going to do, so I just quit my job and I went to India while I was going to resolve. I figured out what's the next thing to do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just go back and spend some time with family. But sometimes the fate or destiny has its own terms and they have written stories in its own ways. So in less than 8 months, I was back in New York and in business.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess that my customers is going to be tough to take care of them from India. I can't do that. I have to be back. That's what's called me back to America. So it was a very fun thing. And then the rest is history.
Mm-hmm.
See, that little smile or the humor, it cements the relationship of your company with the frontline sales team members. It helps you to build a little confidence in those people, and they will push your merchandise much more than your competition. There were a lot of customers who never gave us an opportunity to do business with them in 2008 and 9. They never bought from us at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But the following year, when they meet into the team clinics and the groups to discuss, hey, how was the holiday season? What did they do different? And speaking about Mr. Brown into the website,
Mm-hmm.
most of the website usually are being read or gone through by the bosses. Mostly the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And when the bosses see that little humor, what this Brown can do for you, they get a little kick out of it. And then they are showing it to their employees who are working over it. They bring their whole team members to the trade show. When they come to your booth, the first thing they point out to the employees and, those sales team members, basically the whole team, that they are bringing hey, do you know this guy? Have you seen the face of this guy? Or they gave a kicker. Yeah, I know this guy. This guy is Mr. Brown. That's the guy say we saw the picture of it on the website. And a lot of people say, hey, you know what? We love the merchandise from Mr. Brown's company, and we did fantastic. And we did a great job. And I mean, these guys are great in doing business with them. Now, a lot of us customers who never bought from us at that time in 2008-9 holiday season, they came to us telling that, why didn't you show us what were you selling last year at the holiday season? So it definitely added tremendous amounts of boost to add new customers the following year. And so the bottom line, never think what is going to happen if you do something different, like a humor or wearing a cheese head, anything that is going to get you a little nickname and try to cash you out with the nickname every time you get a chance to.
And it transfers into like any field too, because I even remember in serving tables in Manhattan, we would be selling wine, right? And you have your, $25 wine, your $50 wine, or your $100 wine. And what is it that makes people want to try that $75 to $100 bottle wine? Because they want a story behind it. They don't want to just have, a bottle of wine. They want to have an experience, right? So when you start having the different wineries would come into the restaurant and they would tell us the story. Like I remember vividly, there's this one wine where they named their wine. It's like their reserve that was made on the estate, and it's named after their dog because their dog actually saved their son from drowning. So they thought that their dog's name deserved to be on the most expensive bottle of wine that they served because it's honorable. And I thought that was just such a cool story to tell people, because I was like, there is this dog that saved this guy, and people loved it because they loved the experience and they loved like supporting the dog, like, so it's really interesting when you start having these kind of conversations. It's just like a conversation starter.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. And if you look at today's business in general, not today's business in general, there is a lot of stress involved at every stage. Every stage there is a lot of stress. If you can de-stress those people with a little humor or little twist of laugh, they will love it. They will love it. Definitely they will love it.
Mm-hmm. Kaushal, are you finding with your business, it's about to be holiday season, are you running into hard instances or anything where you're finding that little spice of humor is coming in handy?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think more than spice of humor, just like, honesty is coming in very handy.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just being honest with my customer and telling them to look, we plan as much as we can and we forecast as much as we can. But then there are circumstances where, we have placed orders 3 months ago. We still haven't received delivery because their factory in Italy or their factory in New Jersey, like, is facing issues with staffing or with COVID or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Then most of the people are willing to understand. But I'm the kind of a guy who likes to have a plan A, B, C, and D. So luckily, we were positioned in such a way that when we started our business, we were making everything in New York. Or at least you could say that we were assembling everything in New York,
Yeah.
Because we'd buy the parts and we'd just put it all together and things like that. So what happened was that it allowed us to have a hybrid business model. So the customer has a timeline issue, then we would still make it in America and would communicate that and tell them that. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to save the occasion, because in our business, it's all about the timely delivery, because people are going to get engaged on a certain date or propose on a certain date.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely did run into some issues with, like I shared with you earlier, we are still running into issues with factories in Jersey. We also provide visual merchandising, so we make displays with companies that have factories in China. So things are stuck on our boat for a long time.
Yeah.
So things are definitely happening. But I think one of the things is about being genuine. I think that we have in our book at that point, we have a chapter on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about that, it's just like we genuinely tell them what's going on, and that's what's working. And this stuff, the more the better the communication, I think it is. Just keeping the energy positive. And, the retailers feel it too, that we're doing everything that we can.
Uh-huh. And I wanted to end by telling the quote that your friend Todd said from Statesville, North Carolina, who rightly said,
Yes.
never take life too seriously because nobody has come out of it alive yet.
So true, so true, so true.
In our next episode, we're going to go into the importance of continuing your education and really learning from the University of Mr. Brown. If you feel that you were inspired today, please leave us a like, a comment. Feel free to ask us any questions that you may have. We're here to help. Follow us on social media for more weekly inspiration. You'll find all of our links down below, as well as a link to our book that's packed full of knowledge that you can integrate into your daily routines to help you take that first step out of your comfort zone. And we are available on Amazon in Audible, Kindle, and paperback. And we will see you in the next episode.